Welcome to Grace for Transformation Kenya, a Bible teaching ministry of Grace Covenant Church in Kenya under the leadership of Pastor Maurice J. Mwale. In case you are coming across this channel for the first time, we encourage you to subscribe so as to continue being notified whenever we post our teachings. Welcome to this series. The Young Church Fellowship seeks to take the earliest opportunity possible to nurture the young people in righteousness. We do this through a series of teachings that lay a firm spiritual foundation with confidence that these will govern them throughout their lives.
Good morning. It's good to have all of us here today, and we're going to have a wonderful time together. We are going to have two sessions. The first session will not open our Bible at all. We'll just be saying the things that we know about ourselves. It will take about 1 hour. Then we will break for 15 minutes, have some snacks, then come back for another 1 hour where we will study the Bible together. Is that okay? So the title of our message is Young and Hopeful. Young and Hopeful. The meaning of young and hopeful is that all of us are still youthful people, and all of us still have a lot of time ahead of us. And this time, we have hope. It's not a hopeless time we have together. We have hope. That's the way I want us to engage as we move through all that we are doing today. So the paper in front of you is to find out who you are and what makes you be who you are. That's our first lesson. Who am I? And what makes me be who that person that I am. So this is our first session. It begins now. So I want you to take your pen. Just write what is your name, your full name. So we have put their full names. Now, if you meet somebody and someone asks you, who are you? What will you say? Shout out what you have written there. That's who you are. But the question is, how did you become that? So the next question there is, who named you? Who gave you that name? How did you come to know that that is your name? At what point did you know that you are called by that? Who named you? Some of us were named by our mother, our father, our uncle, our cousin, our grandfather, our grandmother. So whoever named you, who named you? Right there, who named you? If you know, if you don't know, say right there, I don't know. So who named you? Just put it there. We'll do a summary of all that we are doing, and we'll come to understand why we are doing it. Who is it that named you? Who told you that you are? Like, my name is Maurice Mwale. It's my father who gave me this name when I was born. I was born in the house, not in the hospital. After I was born, my mother gave birth to me with the help of midwives in the house. And after I was born, my father was called and said, hey, he's a boy. And he said, we will call him Maurice. So who gave you that name? Point number 3 there. Do you sometimes wish that you had a different or a better name than the one you have? Do you sometimes look at your name and say, Andenga? Say, Andenga, what is this Andenga thing? And you want a better name? Write it there, write it there. So you say yes, then you say the reason why. You say no, you say the reason why. If there's a time you have felt like, Caleb is not the name I would have wanted to be called, I could have wanted a better name. Actually, you can even write there the name that you feel like you should have been called. Sometimes we feel like, what was wrong with my parents? They couldn't think of a better name. These guys couldn't think of a better name. Why couldn't they just give me this name? And you have a name in mind that you think that could be fitting to you. Put it down there. You sometimes wish that you had a better or a different name than the one you have. The answer is yes. Why do you feel like that? Write the reason why you feel like that there. The answer is no. Maybe the answer is no because I'm satisfied with my name. My name is nice. I like it. No, because I respect the person who gave me this name. No, because I don't care about what I'm called. Or you can say yes, because I wanted to be called Bill Clinton, and I wanted to be called Obama, and I wanted to be called Moy. So the next is, do you have a nickname? So what's your nickname? If you don't have, say, I don't have a nickname. So what is your nickname? You can say, I don't have. But if you write there, I don't have, someone may mistake that your nickname is I don't have. And then the next question will be, then who gave you that nickname? Just write what you have. So the next question is, what does that nickname mean to you? What does that nickname mean? What does it represent? What does that nickname represent? So if you have a nickname, maybe it's because you know how to play football, so they have called you Messi. or because you are tricky and You know, you are given a nickname that represents something. So what does your nickname represent? And we're going to share some of that information at a given time. Maybe you have a long name and people cannot pronounce it. So you can say, my name was long. And your nickname can be the shorter part of that name. Your nickname can be because of your behavior, something about you, because of your height, or your body size. So why do we want to know about our name? The principle behind the name. What is the principle behind a name? Technically, a name is a word or phrase by which a person or thing is known. A name is a person's identity. A name is what identifies you. When we are here right now, if I shout a name like Fresh Air, how many people will answer to that name here right now? Only one. Because that's her identity. Now, you are still young and you may not have what we call identity cards. If you meet with a police officer and you are a grown-up, the first thing the police officer asks you is what? Wapi? ID. What is written in that ID? It's just your name. Steve, have you ever lost your ID? What happens when you have lost your ID? You are insecure. Eh? If a police stops you, your heart starts bumping. Because if he asks for an ID, what will I tell them? Because an identification is a very important thing in our lives. So our names identify us. That's the first thing we need to understand. Our names are our identity. But again, we need to know that from the things that we have been feeling here is an identity given to us by a human being, a fellow human being. Our names are identities given to us by human beings. And sometimes human beings make mistakes. You can hear a name and wonder, what was the father thinking? You wonder, what was this old man thinking? What was he thinking? Do you have a name yourself that you think like, what was wrong with my parent? So that can happen. You have an identity that you don't want to relate to. Is that possible? Until now, when you go to Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Twitter, you change that name. You now bring it to what you want it to be. Very few people use the identities their parents have given them on social media. Is that true? Why? It's because you think you are better than that. Is it true? You think like, my mother is too old to name me. So you want a better identity. We have people who have lost their original identity, and we have people who hate their identity, but the name is your identity still. Now, if you look at children are always named by very special people in their lives. So you'll find you are being named by your mother, your father, your uncle, your grandmother, your grandfather. Your grandfather will come and say, hey, the first child must be my name. So your mother is honoring the father or the mother to name you, but that is a name that you will never want to be associated with. When he grew up to reach a level of understanding, he dropped the name. Did you hear that? You have been given an identity by somebody else, but you reach a level that now you can think, you reason, you are eligible, you can make decisions, and you know this is not who I am. Okay? You know, say this is not who I am. Although they have named me like this, but this is not who I am. So, your name is therefore a reflection of the thoughts, desires, and intents of the person who named you. Your name represents what the person that named you thinks about you. So you look at your name and you know what your mother thinks about you and what your father thinks about you. It's the mind. When someone has a baby, you look at the future of that baby and you give the baby a name that represents what you think about that baby, the thoughts you have about that baby. And that's an important principle that we're going to lift into our second session, and you'll see how it works out. So let's go to the second page. So who is the most important person in your life, in this life? You have your brothers, you have your sisters, you have your friends, you have your cousins, you have your fathers, you have your uncles, you have your grandfathers, grandmothers. Who is the most important person in your life? No, God is not. We are not talking. Jafungua Bible. Achana Bible kwanza. Who is the most important person in this life? To you. Hope wants to write my dad. She remembers the mother is also good. So she's lost between the mother and the father. I know you may be so. You can write my parents. Who is the most important person? And be sincere. Write what you, because that's your paper. Nobody will see it maybe. So now that you have put it down, you have to say a reason. Why do you regard him or her as the most important person in your life? Why do you say this is the most important person in my life? Why do you say so? You have many answers. Because he loves me so much. Because they always buy for me clothes. Because they do this. Because. Or because she gave birth to me. Why do you regard this person as the most important person in your life? What does this person do to you that you think is the most important? What values do you think that this person has in my life that makes me think that this person is very important? The next question is just like the other question. Who is your role model? Who is your role model? You know what a role model is? The person you look up to and admire. You wish you will be that person. And if you don't have a role model, it's good to say it, I don't have. Then the next question is what Ivy was explaining. What values or qualities do you admire in your role model? What do you see in your role model and say, wow, I love this? What do you see in that role model and say, this is what I love, or this is what I want to be when I grow up? This is a quality of value in this role model of mine. Now, in the case of Ivy, the other question does not matter. Does your role model know you? Just write it down. And in most cases, our role models don't know us. And I'll tell you the importance of that. In most cases, we have no personal relationship with our role models. Although we love them, we see them from far, we admire them from far. So, but just in case your role model knows you, does your role model know you? Now, if your role model knows you, do you know what your role model thinks about you? Yes, there's a difference between mentor and role model. Do you know what your role model thinks about you? But a role model will be a wonderful mentor because it's someone you admire. Actually, that's what I wanted to explain here. If your role model is somebody that you can reach out to, you can meet and have a face-to-face fellowship, then you are in a better position to advance in the qualities that you are seeing in your role model. Right, so we have a principle that we want to look at. Your identity or destiny can be positively impacted or determined by the most important person in your life. The question was, who is the most important person in your life? Now, your identity and your destiny can be impacted positively or determined by the most important person in your life. How does that happen? Because if you hold this person with the highest esteem that is the most important person in your life, then what this person thinks about you matters a lot. It matters a lot. For example, if your answer was, my father or my mother, my parents are the most important people in my life, then what they think about you matters a lot. Now, what they think about you may not be some things that you like. If a person is important in your life, if you hold somebody as important in your life, yeah, I wanted to look at your paper. Whom did you say is important? Just read it to yourself, not to somebody else, to yourself. Then whatever that person imparts in your life, you must also hold it as important. So if your father and mother are important people in your life, then their values about you must be important. What they think about you must be important. Their advice must be important. Their warnings, their corrections must be important also in your life. Otherwise, you'll be lying. There'll be a discrepancy for you to say, my father is the most important person in my life, but when he corrects me, I don't want to accept the correction. So, if you had written, my father, and you don't like the advice of your father, now you can cancel. You can now cancel and write the most important person. Because what the most important person wants to impart in your life, you must also hold it as the most important thing in your life. And this is what imparts our destiny. That's what imparts our identity. That's what molds us to be who that most important person wants us to be. You reach a place that you feel like, don't tell me what to do. Like when I was growing up, I reached an age, I looked at my father, I said, what does he think that he has to tell me what to do? Everybody reaches an age, you feel like, Mama, don't tell me what to do. You don't tell them, you just look at them and roll your eyes and it's like, I know better than you. Now, it's because we are fighting for freedom. We want our freedoms. Freedoms to make decisions. Freedom to choose where we go and when we go and how we go. Freedom to choose our friends. Mama, you can't tell me which friends to have. Allow me my freedom. You want freedom to choose what to wear and what not to wear, what to eat. Are there times you want the freedom to choose what to eat? Mama is saying we eat ugali every day and you're like, I want some nodules. Do you feel like that sometimes? Like you want to eat mutura and Mama is reading you Old Testament telling you we don't eat blood. We are the people of God. And you want that mutura so badly. Do you feel like you're in prison sometimes? Do you feel like I want to break out of this prison? Who can share with us an experience? Like this time, I wanted to come home, to go out with my friends. We go and do this and come home at midnight, and my father doesn't feel like that is right. Do you have those challenges? We want freedom. Who knows the meaning of the word freedom?
The meaning of freedom comes from the word free.
Uh-huh.
Free meaning no bondage, no the ability to do as you please.
The ability to do as you please. So the power to act, speak, or think like you feel like the way you want. That's freedom. Do you have a neighbor who has a problem with the way the parents treat them? Which freedoms do they want? Anybody who has a neighbor who has a challenge with freedom? I want my freedom. I want to come home the time I want to come home, dress the way I want to dress, pursue the education I want to pursue. Don't tell me, I don't want to become a doctor, I want to become an artist. African parents want their children to be engineers and doctors and pilots and lawyers. So when you say you want to be a musician, your mother is like, you can't embarrass me that much. So all of us want these freedoms, but there's something we don't also understand. Every freedom has boundaries. Every freedom has limitations. And let me give you an example of our country, Kenya. There was a time Kenya was a colonial. We were under the colonial rule of the Britons. Then people came up called Mau Mau. They fought the Britons, chased them away, and installed our own prime minister who was called Jomo Kenyatta at that time. So at that time we celebrated and said what? Kenya has freedom. But what was the freedom about? Freedom from the colonial rule. Was it freedom to think and act and do the way we feel like? It's not so. That's why after we got our independence, we still had the police, we still had the courts, the judges, and the prisons, because you cannot just live the way you want to live. Is Kenya a free country? Yes, Kenya is a free country. But can you just do what you feel like doing? So every freedom has boundaries, has limitations. So as you seek for this freedom as a young person, because you are seeing where your parents cannot see, you are seeing where your uncles cannot see, this old grandfather is telling you things of when I was young like you, and you are wondering, why is he telling me things 50 years ago? You need to understand that every freedom has limitations. Are you hearing that? That's something we must mark. In as much as we're fighting for this freedom, we need to understand every freedom has limitations. So, if we have an important person in our life, that important person is trying to impose, let's use that word impose right now, some boundaries on us. What will you be understanding? Yes, I am free, but this person knows much more than I know. Therefore, he has put some limitations in my life, and I'm going to live by those limitations. So, like Ivy's neighbor, she will want to dress the way she wants to dress like, but because the mother puts limitations, she'll say, although I want to live the way I want to live, but since my mother is the most important person in my life, she has put some boundaries in my life, I will not break those boundaries. Is that good? So your knowledge of what the most important person in your life thinks about you, or your knowledge of how that person defines you, can play a major role in determining your identity and destiny. If you know what your mother thinks about you, if that your mother is the most important, what your father thinks about you, what he will want you to be, then that determines also how you live You identify yourself where you are going. Your destiny is the place that you are going. So if you have a most important person in your life, then it is also very crucial that you pay attention to that person. So let me ask one question. Does each and every one of us have an important person in our life? So we all have an important person in our life. Then it's crucial that we listen to what that person is saying. Why? Maybe this is the same person who named you. Now, if a person can name you, naming has another connotation also. Naming has another meaning. Naming means that you have named me because you have God-given authority over me. This is not in your notes, but you can write somewhere. If someone names you, that person has God's given authority over you. So it is good to know what the most important person thinks about you. But we'll discover something else later in the next session. It's good to know. It's good to know that my mother thinks that I'm daft. There are mothers who think like that. There are mothers who tell their children you are very stupid. It's good to know what your mother thinks about you. It helps you. It helps you know this is the way that person thinks about me. So how does that shape or determine my destiny? I can do something. Because why is the most important person in my life thinking that I'm stupid? Because there's a level that she wants me to go to, and I'm not reaching that level. I can pursue that level now and reach my destiny. Not every criticism is supposed to dampen you. I've always said the story here. There's this guy who was in the classroom. He used to fail mathematics always. And the teacher looks at him and says, "Why do you come to school? You will amount to shit." So the teacher tells him, "You will amount to shit." Then this guy thinks about it, and he continues growing that I'll amount to shit. So now this guy is a rich guy. He sells mobile toilets because the teacher told him you will amount to shit. And he has used that. Actually, that shit has made him rich. So he has used what a teacher thought about him to become something that now is his life, his destiny. So next, number 3 there we have, whose opinion do you regard as the most important in your life? Whose opinion? So is it your parents' opinions? Is it your relatives' opinions? Is it your friends and peers' opinions? Is it your teacher's opinion? Is it your schoolmates' opinion? Is it the opinion of the social media? The opinion of television programs or movies? Which opinion do you regard as the most important in your life? Is it what you see on social media? What people are discussing on Instagram? There's another one that's called TikTok. TikTok. Eh? You can choose. You can choose 3, 1, 10, all of them, none of them. Most important should be one at least. Or you can say number 1, number 2, number 3. For example, if your mother walks in the house and says, "Wow, look at my beautiful daughter," what does that mean to you? How about if she comes and says, "You are the most ugly person I've ever seen"? What does that mean to you? My mother used to tell me, something. I don't know who gave birth to you. That's what she used to tell me in our mother tongue. You know, it sounds very bad in mother tongue. I don't know who gave birth to you. Because I was a weakling when I was growing up. I will fall down anytime. And my mother wants me to carry things in the morning to take them to the market, then come back and go to school. And I'll fall down with the things that my mother is telling me to take to the market. And she'll tell me, "Wake up. I don't know who gave birth to you." So, is that an important opinion in your life? Is what your mother is saying an important opinion in your life? Is what your relatives are saying an important opinion in your life? When I came to Nairobi, I came to stay with my uncle. I grew in the village up to the age of, I think I came to Nairobi when I was 20 years old, and I've never gone back to the village. I went to stay with my uncle in Kibera. In Kibera, we have these small rooms. They are attached to one another. They are very long, but attached to one another. So you can have a discussion in the evening from the first room there to the last room, and you are different families. So a story begins, and you can discuss when you are in your room. So I was with my uncle, And one day I was invited by somebody to go and visit a relative in Eastleigh. So when I was in Eastleigh, I was like, wow. There are people who live like this. You know, in Kibera, there are those, there are no toilets there. So there are those trenches that pass. You help yourself in a newspaper or something, you throw in that trench. They're called flying toilets all over. So you're always jumping on things like this. As you go, when it rains, we used to put on shoes, then put on polythene papers up to here, so that when you reach the stage, you remove the polythene paper and now go to the bus. So now you have come to Eastleigh. I had come to visit an auntie in Eastleigh, and I was like, wow, this is life now. So when I went back to Kibera, I was excited. I told my uncle, one day when I grow up, I'll live in Eastleigh. And somebody was listening from a different room. He said, tell that young man to shut up. I said, why should I shut up? And I'm saying I live in Eastleigh. He said, once you arrive in Kibera, you will leave Kibera in a coffin. And that thing disturbed me for so long that when the first time I got my own money, I went to live in Madara North. I said, let me leave Madara North in a coffin, but not Kibera. I don't want to be defined by somebody who is defeated in Kibera. So I went to live in, I looked for other friends. I got 2 friends. We were together in school. I convinced them. We went to Madara North. We took one room. We were paying 600 shillings, and we were 600, yes. Each and every one of us was paying 200, 200, 200. And that was high class, my friends. That was high class. What did I do? I refused to be defined by a person who is defeated and living in Kibera and waiting to die in Kibera and be taken home in a coffin. I said, your opinion is not important. You may be a grown-up. You may be important in my life. But what you think about me is not important. I left. So whose opinion is important to you? Whose opinion is important to you? So you need to know. You need to make up your mind. Whose opinion is important in my life? Do you want to be like that celeb you see on television? Who is that role model that you have? Who is your role model? Do you want to be like that Michelle Obama? Do you know how she arrived there? Or you want to jump all the stages and get there? I know most of us look at what we call celebs in Kenya and the cars they drive and the houses they live in. Now they show us their houses. This is my bedroom, and this is my. They show you around. So you see that, and you're like, wow, this is what I want to become. So everything that celeb says makes meaning to you. Can shape your life. But do you know how this celeb arrived there? Are those means you are willing to use to get there? So if they are not means that you are willing to get there, why do you allow their opinions to shape your life? If your teacher's opinion shapes your life just because you failed mathematics, is mathematics everything in life? If a teacher calls you a fool just because you got an E and your teacher thinks that you are the most stupid person that ever lived on this earth, and maybe you are not a mathematics person, you are an artist like HOD. You know how mathematics used to be. So if your teacher wants to shape your destiny by defining you with his opinions because you have failed mathematics, is that how you live? That my teacher says I'm stupid and that becomes your identity. So all these people listed here, they have the way they think about you. But is that who you really are? What is your favorable program on television? Just say it. Ringo. It's a soap opera. So if Ringo is the program that you like on TV and you see the way they do on Ringo and the kind of advice they are giving each other, and is that the one that is going to shape your destiny? Are you going to say, I will live the life of... which actors do you have on Ringo? Kulia. So will you say, since Kulia says this is what I'm going to do. Mama, are you listening to me? Is that the way you want to live? Your destiny being shaped by media, social media, by television, by your schoolmates, by your teachers, by your friends and by your peers, by your relatives. Relatives is the people you relate to. By your parents. Whose opinion is most important in your life? Let me ask you a question first of all. Let me ask you a question. How many of us at this age, when you look at your future, you say, I want to be a cleaner? How many of us think like, I want to be a cabbage man. The one who collects dirt. How many of us look like and say, I want to be a watchman when I grow up? So all of us have this amazing future in our mind. Is it true? What do you want to be when you grow up? You want to draw houses. So he wants to be an architect. A nurse, wow. You are that caring? So she wants to be a nurse. Music composer. Who among us has things that I want to be a nobody when I grow up? Does anybody think like that? I want to be a drunkard. Does anybody think like that? Do you look around and see that someone here will end up a drunkard? Okay, in your neighborhood, do you see young men who say they want to become this, they want to become engineers, doctors, lawyers, but they end up being other things? Have you ever seen that? What happens? It takes the infiltration of negative influence into your mind for you to stray off from your desires into self-destruction. You have desires. You have desires. You have visions. You have dreams. You can actually see yourself. You can see your future. You can close your eyes and dream and dream and dream. You can see what you will be doing in future. You can even see the car you will be driving. You see the house you will be living in. The kind of food you will be eating. In future, you can see it. It's a dream you have, it's a vision. But what happens between now and that future is you set aside your dreams and allow negative influence into your mind. Negative thoughts into your mind. You allow other people's opinions to obstruct your future. We'll be looking at, in the next session, how to handle that. But I want to tell you, all of us have an amazing future. If you believe, shout amen. All of us have an amazing future. A bright future, a prosperous future. We are just amazing people. Sindio? So you can see yourself 20 years from today. You can see yourself, eh? You see that amazing person. Who looks at himself and sees himself as a failure 20 years from now? Let me see by show of hand. Say, I look in my future and I see I'm a failure. Yeah? So nobody sees that future is a failure. But now what happens from what your dreams right now to your future? You lose something called self-control. When you lose self-control, then you bow to being controlled by other people. The moment you lose self-control and allow yourself to be controlled by other people, then you are about to lose your dreams. And more so, if those people are not the most important people in your life, because the most important people in your life care for you, they love you, they care for you. Let's go back to that list there. Most parents will be caring, will be loving, will want to walk with you towards your future. But do you think all relatives want to walk with you towards your future? Not all your relatives want to walk with you towards your future. There are so many relatives who want you to be a failure. So if you allow and I'm not saying all relatives are bad, but I'm saying most relatives. If you allow the opinions of your relatives to determine how you live, then most likely you are now destroying your future. Your friends and peers. I want to, maybe Pastor Steve can help us. Like Pastor Steve, when you were in class, when you were class 8 or 7? So you're in class 8, yeah? There's that influence. There's that influence between young people. Let's go and do this, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And some of the influence is bad. Is it true? Some of the influence is bad. Now, how many of the friends were you with in class 8 that you can still meet today? Like which percentage? Now, Pastor Steve says, among the friends that he was with in class 8, he meets 0 point something, which means almost nobody. You get that? So the people who influenced you to make wrong decisions at your youthful stages, they have all gone. You are now remaining alone. So why should you listen to them? Why should you listen to them if the time will come, they'll walk away from you, you will remain alone. So What you do here, once you have a dream, then you listen to these people. If somebody is not encouraging you towards your dream, then that person is an enemy of your dream. So you just look at these people. If they are not encouraging you towards where you are going, then they should not be part of your life. Okay, they should not define who you are. They should not determine how you do your things to get where you are going. I'll give you an example just in a short while. If you allow an entry of negative thoughts, negative influence, if you allow an entry of evil, wicked thoughts in your mind, then at that time you are slowly swaying off from your vision, from your dream, from that which you desire to be when you grow up. So let's go to that principle again. So it takes infiltration of negative influence into your mind for you to stray off from your desires into self-destruction. Do you see the word we have used there last? Self-destruction. Nobody can destroy you. You can only destroy yourself. If you allow negative infiltration, it's a difficult word. Eh? Ivy will tell you. She's the one. Ivy, what is infiltration?
Like simply put, infiltration is like getting in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's put there, it takes the entry of negative influence into your mind. When you allow negative influence to enter your mind, then, like I know, Amy plays basketball. Now, you know, Amy can play basketball to the highest level, but if someone looks at her and say, I don't think you are height, and she allows that to go in her mind, that people with my height cannot play basketball, then she'll give up on her dreams. Basketball is not played by height. Others, Chris will be playing basketball right now. Basketball is played by skill. And if Amy has the skill and the desire and the passion to play basketball, she can play it. She can throw the ball from far and the ball goes in. She doesn't have to reach there to put the ball there. So, do you hear me? So you can't allow someone to bring negative influence in your mind when you want to play basketball. And I'm just putting it in every area of your passion, every area of your interest, every area of your vision, because we agreed that we all have amazing dreams. Amazing dreams. Now, the problem is, most grown-ups look back in their youthful days with a lot of regrets because of the wrong decisions they made. So, you grew up saying, I want to become a doctor. But now, you are a pastor. They wish someone could have corrected them at the right time, or they also wish that they should have paid attention when someone actually corrected them. Now, tell me the truth. How many of us will want to be in these brackets? That one day when you grow up, you regret. You say, I wish someone advised me. Or I wish I listened when they advised me. Do you want to be part of that? So, if you don't want to be part of this, then you must avoid this. You must avoid the entry of negative, evil, wicked influence in your mind. You must avoid that. Now, most of the wrong decisions that we make in our youthful years are as a result of bad influence or peer pressure, yet most of our youthful friends will never be there in our adult lives to share in the consequences of our wrong decisions. Right now, someone tells you, me my dad is in the hivi, mbuyo is in the show. Mnaitaka mbuyo ama nini? Mzae. Mzae mi is in letter. Me maze mbuyo is in the show. Mzae is in the show. Once when your voice breaks, you discover you can speak some bass like Devi. So you find that these people, they influence you negatively. You make wrong decisions. By the way, there's a time we used to go to prison ministry, and we found one bright young man in Naivasha prisons. He had just passed. He was the top student in, was it Form 4 exam? No, accounting exams in the country, but he's in prison. So I sat with him for some time. I asked him, why are you here? He told me he was with friends in a place. He didn't know these friends. They had just broken into somebody's business, and stole, and now they had taken him out. Let's go and drink. So they were having a drink together, and then the police just comes in. The friends are running away. He doesn't know why they're running away, and he was the only one who was arrested. So those who have stolen have run away, but he is the one who is arrested, and he's charged with what? Robbery with violence. And he's in Naivasha maximum prison for life. Where are the friends who influenced him? Where are they? He's suffering alone. And that's why somebody has said, we used to hang out together, but now life is hanging us up separately. We like hanging out together. We like hanging out together. My gang. Bogi. Ligue. Ligue yangu. I'm telling you the truth. A time comes when now you have to suffer alone. They will never be there to suffer with you. You allow people to influence you, yet they are not part of you. There's a day I alighted from Matatu. I was living in a place called Madara North. So I alighted at a place called John Saga, if you know those directions. So I alighted there, and there was a group of people. Then I had them discuss. They said they are going to Madara North. They were discussing among themselves. So they started walking. And I said, since these people are going to Madara North, let me walk with them because I'm going to Madara. It was late in the night, at about midnight. So I started walking with them. I walked with them. I was just behind them because I thought we are going the same direction. Little did I know that these guys are thugs. So when we reached in a dark place, they stopped and surrounded me and they beat me up. They robbed me everything. Then they went back to where I found them. So I walked to Madara North alone without any clothes on myself because I followed the wrong group of people. And that's what the problem of following mobs without reasoning. You just follow people because they're your age mates, they're your classmates, they're educated like you, they live in the same estate. That's not the way we live. We choose our friends, amen? We don't want to hang together if we'll never be hung together with life. Number 4, on our papers, number 4. So what will you like to become when you grow up? All of us are growing up. Even me, I'm growing up. I still have like 35 years to live in this world. So when you ask me what will you want to become when I grow up, I'll tell you. I have a neighbor who bought a Volkswagen Beetle. And he wrote on that Volkswagen. You know that Volkswagen? The one that looks like a beetle. So he wrote there, growing up into a Pajero. You see, he's a visionary man. He has money, he can buy a car, but the car he can afford is a Volkswagen. But he's saying, this is not the end of me. I am growing up into a Pajero. It's just that I don't know where he is right now, if he actually bought a Pajero or not. But he had a vision. So you have a vision. Where do you see yourself 10 years from today? 15 years from today? 20 years from today? 30 years from today? Where do you see yourself when you are Sarah's age? Where do you want to see yourself when you are Pastor Mwale's age? When the government is threatening you that you may not go to church. You know, they say above this age, they're not allowed in the church. Which age? Yeah, when you reach almost there, you're almost there. Where do you see yourself when you are that age? What do you want to be? So let me ask you a question. Why do you want to be that which you want to be when you grow up? Answer that question. Why? Why? Why do you want to become that? And now the most crucial question is this. What are you doing at the moment to ensure that you become that which you desire? That's the most crucial question. What are you doing at the moment? You want to be a musician, compose music, direct music. But what are you doing right now to ensure that you become that composer, director of music when you grow up? What are you doing right now to ensure that you become a nurse, an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, an architect, a computer scientist? What are you doing right now? Or you can just wake up one day and voila, you are an architect. What is it that you are doing today to go that direction? And lastly, in your opinion, what is it that can obstruct you from becoming that which you desire to become? In your own opinion, what do you think can obstruct you? What do you think can stop you? What do you think can hinder you? What can be on your way so that you are not able to walk to your destiny? As a young boy, I always knew I'll become a doctor. I knew by this time I'll be called Dr. Maurice Mwale. Right now, I used to see myself, I'll be on the front line of fighting coronavirus. I'll be the one making announcements. I thought that I'll become a doctor completely. I loved medicine. I loved the smell of medicine in a hospital. When I go to hospital, I loved the smell of hospital. And I said, I want to be the one. And when I was a young boy, there's a doctor who was old. We used to go to his clinic. He used to have a long syringe, big syringe with a long needle like this. So he'll look at you and do it like this when he wants to inject you. You know, this guy wants to cause pain in your life. And I said, one day I'll be the one causing pains in people's lives. You have no idea how those inject. Right now they use small, tiny things. But our days, it used to be like a long needle like this. Then the doctor has to bring out the medicine from the vial and then look at it like this. I don't know why they used to do like that. Chris, were you there? Then you will see air bubbles escaping through until the whole thing is clear. Then he'll hit you here. It was normal. When he's still doing it like this, they say, I'm not happy. You have taken off. They must chase you around the clinic until they get you, then they bring you back. Then a few people must hold you down for you to be injected. But I wanted to be now that man who is injecting, not the one running around. So I was growing up. I went through my school life. I reached somewhere that I was supposed to go to. We used to go to Form 5 and Form 6. So I was called in a place called Kakamega High School to go to Form 5 and Form 6. I went with a letter to my father. I gave it to him. I said, I'm supposed to report to school. My father looked at the letter and he began to cry. So I wondered, I'm the one going to study. Why is my father crying? It's because he didn't have school fees to pay for me. I'm on my journey to become a doctor. You see that? I have 2 classes to go to, then go to university. But now my father is looking at the letter that is supposed to take me to 2 classes and is crying. So I tried all relatives to take them that letter. They looked at me. They said, sorry. So I never ended up going to Form 5 and Form 6. And my dream to become a doctor was cut off. So I started doing other things in life. But again, I had nobody who could have advised me. You can go and do a certificate course, maybe in medicine, or maybe something close to that, or nursing or something. Then do a diploma course. Then you can become this. Then you can become that. So I had no advice in life completely. I had nobody who could come to me and tell me, this is your vision. You have failed here, but you can follow this path and still get there. I had nobody to advise me. Because I'm a firstborn in my family. I'm the one that the family is now looking up to. We have no other person who can come down and say, hey, you can make it in life. Everybody thinks now by getting to 4th form, I've made it. So I have nobody to look up to. Then I came to this city. When I came to this city, I started working small jobs here and there. Then I got into wrong company. And the wrong company told me, you work very hard for a whole month, you earn your money, you go to a nightclub and spend the whole money in one day. You see how foolish you can be? After working for 30 days, you spend the money in one day. So that's what I used to do. Labor. We used to be paid 15th and the end of the month. So 15th, I smoke my money in one day. Then I go again, labor. Sometimes I walk to work. I don't have lunch, but when I get the money, because of the company I was keeping. So I entered a wrong company. Nobody in that company knew anything to do with education. They were concerned with the lifestyle, how to dress. Do you have the latest shirt in town? Do you have the latest shoes in town? That's what used to matter to us those days, not education. Doesn't matter how you look up here. What matters is how you look on the outside. And we used to spend everything on going to look for the best shoe in town, the best. We used to put on silk those days. The best shirt in town, the best trouser in town. Then we will pull it up to here. Then we have a swag in town, and we think that we are the guys. So before I knew, I'm not a doctor and I can't make it. But as a young person, I had a vision. Actually, when I grew up, because I missed becoming a doctor, I just bought a white coat. It's still in my house. I use it once in a while just to remember that I was supposed to be a doctor. But when I see butcher men also putting it on, and this is confusing. Who is? So you see, part of the reasons why I did not become a doctor, I'm not a doctor right now, part of it is destiny, part of it is my parents did not have money, part of it is my own ignorance. Now you are still on this side of life, you have not reached a place you are saying, I've not attained it. So when you look on your way, what do you think can stop you from becoming what you want to become? I talked about this principle earlier, that most of us when we are growing up, we always desire to become the most amazing people in our lives. But something happens somewhere. When you find young people playing football here, they never call themselves John or Dan, or they never call themselves names, Caleb. No. When they are playing football, what do they call themselves? Messi, Ronaldo. You see? Why are they calling themselves like that? Because they have a vision. They love the way Messi works with the ball, dribbles the ball, and they say, this is what I want to do when I grow up. But what stops them from becoming that is because desire alone is not enough. Did you hear that? Desire alone is not enough. For you to achieve your purpose in life, it requires hard work. It requires determination. So number one, for you to achieve your purpose in life, it requires what? Hard work, determination. But again, it requires focus. You remain focused on that which you want to become. Because you can work hard doing nothing. If you left here right now, and you have a car full of, say you are driving, just an imagination, you have a car full of fuel, and you want to drive, you say, I'm going to Mombasa. Then you hit the road. You go up to somewhere on Mombasa Road, you turn, you hit the road. You go somewhere up to Thika, you turn, you come back to the city center. You hit the road, go up to Limuru, come back. You hit the road, go back to Nyangong, come back. You keep doing like that, and your fuel is being consumed. At the end of the day, your tank is empty, but you have not arrived in Mombasa because you are not focused. But anybody looking at you, hey, you're driving. And that's the problem with most of us. We are so busy going nowhere because we have no focus. We have no focus. And the good thing about our generation is that information is available. There's a lot of information available. There's a lot of research available. And your parents are so good. They have exposed you to television. They have exposed you to the internet. Most of you have been given phones, or you can access a phone. You can Google and find out, how do I do what I need to do? But instead of doing like that, where do you spend your time? On mimicking other musicians who have made it. You are busy mimicking them on TikTok. These guys have already made it. They have already made it. Why are you wasting your time trying to be someone who has already made it and you have your destiny? Do you think your destiny will be dancing on TikTok? Trying to be what someone else is already? And you think that's the most important thing? Mommy, I'm coming. You've locked yourself in a room somewhere. I'm busy. How does that make you arrive to where you are going? Everything you do in life, how is it going to help you get to where you are going? The friends you are wasting time with, we said we love freedoms. Yeah? We want to drink what we want, eat what we want, and smoke what we want. So you have freedom. But how is that going to help you achieve your destiny? How? After today, we'll be looking at making the right choices. I want you to make up your mind right now that your time is so important that you need to invest it, not to spend it. You know the difference? Your time is that very important to you that you need to do what? Invest it, not spend it. That which you spend, you never encountered in your future. That what you invest lives with you forever. Investments live with us. What we spend, we never see it. So what you do with your time must be taking you to the desired destination. So look at that paper that you have written there. what will you like to become when you grow up? Then everything you do must be an investment that leads you to that place. If it doesn't, it is not important in your life. Kama nasema mambo mzuri, sema amen. I want you to take charge of your life. Don't allow your friends to take charge of your life. Don't allow your peers to take charge of your life. Don't allow the television to take charge of your life. Don't allow the social media to take charge of your life. I want you to, you know that social media you have has constructive things and destructive things. Two of us can be on the net. Someone is benefiting, another person is destroying himself. So use the social media constructively to lead you to where you are going. Use it constructively. So all of us, is this true of all of us? If this is true of you, say amen. Most children, when growing up, always desire to become the most amazing people in their different fields of interest. Is that true of you? So what we need to deal with is what can obstruct us from achieving our purposes. That's what we need to deal with. What do you think can obstruct you? And once you have identified that which obstructs you, then you do it. Sindio? Stay away from it. Abstain from it. Because you have an amazing future. Why should something stop you from achieving that amazing future? Why? Why should I allow somebody to stop you from achieving that amazing future? Where will that person be when you are a failure in life? Where will that person be? Do you think that person will be close to you? No. That person will be actually gossiping about you. They try to advise you, didn't listen. They will never be there to cheer you and tell you you are a wonderful, amazing person when you are failed. So we want to leave no room for failure. So just look at somebody close to you and tell them you are an amazing person. Mwambie na sauti asikie. Mwambie you are an amazing person. And you have an amazing future. So we all are amazing people with an amazing future. Praise God. So that was our general session. Now we will go at least to a Bible session in the next. But I want us to have a small break. Let's just have a small break.
Oh Lord my God.
Dear friend, you may have watched this message and yet you are not born again. It's not an accident, but God's plan. All you need to do now is believe that Christ Jesus died on the cross and settled the penalty for all your sins. When you rely only on this finished work, you become the righteousness of God because all your sins are forgiven. You become a child of God with all the rights of a son. You'll never ever perish because you have eternal life, the very life of God. You're welcome to worship with us every Sunday from 10 a.m. We are located at Umoja Inako Estate along Moi Drive, directly opposite the Umoja 2 Chief's office, Nairobi, Kenya.